Alright guys, here you can see all the cartel mercenaries in one shot. I'm now in Mexican territory, but in 100 kilometers you start seeing into Guatemala. And right over here, this is the territory of the cartel, Jalisco New Generation. And over there is the territory of Sinaloa. And this river here, this is the border between them and the conflict zone. Both drugs and migrants are trafficked along it. Right at the beginning of 2023, the Sinaloa cartel practically marched their way through the southern state of Mexico, Chiapas.
Armored vehicles loaded with soldiers from the Sinaloa cartel armed to the teeth took control of the Mexican-Guatemala border. Sounds impossible, but it is the truth. The local people of Chiapas applauded the daredevils as the soldiers from the Sinaloa cartel came and occupied their territory.
But the applause was not long-lived, because the south of Mexico became a war zone.
We're here now and we're not leaving.
Cartels were trying to take each other out, as well as the police.
If you carry on supporting the Sinaloa cartel, and keep supplying us with migrants to meet our quotas, we will keep attacking police stations.
Members from the cartel embarked on a campaign of panic.
This war between the cartels was not about drug trafficking or influence over the area. This was literally a war over people. It was about having control over the flow of illegal immigrants. And this is a trade that becomes bigger every day and brings the cartels more money and even more power.
A record number of migrants crossed over the border this week.
The border crossing in El Paso, Texas, has been closed after hundreds of people stormed the bridge that connects the two countries.
Across the country, an unbelievable number of migrants have been making their way to the USA from Mexico.
Today, I'm going to find out how the cartel leaders make money from this trade.
Let's say, for instance, you have to pay $600 for every person.
To policemen and politicians and ordinary Mexicans.
No, we don't need to get out of here because we found out that the coyotes are coming.
Coyotes?
Coyotes are the people who smuggle the illegals. And to do this, they charge $2,000.
We're going to find out firsthand what it's like to be taken hostage by the cartels. Masha Rigovich spent 2 days in that situation and told me what it was like to be held by the gangsters.
Generally, people were crying without sobbing, without shaking. They all just sat there with tears streaming down their faces.
I will show you how the cartels are fighting for the border, and I will interview a member of Sicario, one of the biggest gangs in Mexico.
This border is a very attractive piece of land to the cartels. They all want to have control over it. But we are still people, and that means when a bullet hits us, it hurts us.
And what are the rules of cartel life?
You can be in the club with your girlfriend, and if a gangster wants her, then he can just come up and take her away. Even in the gangs, they have like rules.
And at the same time, I will show you how Mexicans live. Some guy just noticed me walking by and invited me in. I hope that you're all buckled up. This is going to be a story about Mexican cartels, shown in a way that I promise you have never seen before.
I been getting to it when I'm up late. Hit it when you at the front gate. Act like killer flow and hit it with the one take.
Is it dangerous to travel through Mexico alone, or should you have a companion?
Well, I am the perfect example. Here I am walking with the help of a crutch.
Ilya Bondarev is a blogger who traveled across Mexico from south to north with a caravan of migrants from Latin America and made the coolest film about it that's probably ever been made.
I am on a container train right now, and these always get higher priority in all countries. And that is the reason there's always so much interest in these trains from the cartels. In Mexico, you need to know what the dangers are so that you can avoid them. If you're from around here, you know what dangers are waiting for you and where they are. And then you start putting precautions in place so you don't end up in a situation you'd prefer not to experience. But the simple truth is that for foreigners, it is a lot safer because most of the crime around here, and the same goes for the violence in the country, is directed at Mexicans and also immigrants who have come to Mexico from the Central America, like from Venezuela and so on. So basically, they target vulnerable people. Foreigners and visitors to the country still have some privilege. There's some immunity because the cartels prefer not to touch them. And even if you are one of the unlucky ones that does get kidnapped, at the very least, they'll try not to kill you.
In the spring of 2024, Russian citizen Maria Rigovich was kidnapped in the north of Mexico. Before she was taken by cartel, she managed to send her husband a voice message.
Lisha, we ran into some guys from a cartel gang and they're following us. I'm going to send you my location now and I can only hope that we'll be okay. But it's not looking good.
I found out about Masha's kidnapping when I'd already left Mexico. Some of her friends got in touch with me. They wanted me to help them with ransom money. And it became clear that representatives from the cartels can demand any ransom and keep raising the price. One day at the Mexican border, I spoke to somebody, a member of a cartel. And he told me that kidnappings had become a lot more widespread, especially in recent years.
You need to understand something. At the moment, things are very tense. There is a lot of conflict between the cartels, and to be honest, I wouldn't be leaving the house at the moment. Everybody wishes that we could go back to the 80s, when we had an order thanks to Felix Gallardo. He basically cut up the country and assigned territories for everybody, and there were no problems.
Felix Gallardo was the first Mexican boss of the bosses. He was the founder of the Guadalajara cartel, and he was the architect of the whole Mexican drug smuggling system. After he was eventually arrested in 1989, it signaled the end of his cartel and led to the birth of dozens of new criminal groups.
So many new cartels were born because of that. For example, there's the Sinaloas, Tijuanas. There are a bunch of smaller ones too. Basically, it became open season and these cartels flooded Mexico. They popped up all over the place and they've never left.
One day, they arrested the boss of the Sinaloa cartel, El Chapo, and once again, there were divisions between the cartels, which led to a new wave of wars. And the main thing was the emergence of a large number of groups that couldn't be bothered to follow any of the rules, and they would even kidnap holidaymakers. This is footage of one of the cartels arresting 4 American tourists in early 2023.
We begin our broadcast with the kidnapping of 4 Americans in Mexico.
4 Americans from the South Carolina were kidnapped by cartels in a case of mistaken identity.
They were likely mistaken either for migrants or drug dealers.
They were killed because they were mistaken for being part of another cartel. And this caused massive uproar in the whole of Mexico, to the point where the president of the country had to say something. And I think that in a couple days, the cartel turned in the people who were responsible for it themselves.
The leaders of the cartel literally took their men and dumped them in front of the police station, the ones behind the kidnapping, and left them there. And they left, get this, a letter written by the cartel apologizing for what their men had done.
The stunning photos show 5 men. They're lying on the ground with their hands tied and all but one of them are shirtless. And here's a handwritten apology letter from the Mexican cartel. Amazing.
And this letter is a genuine letter of apology from the cartel itself.
The letter claimed that the cartel was handing over 5 men who had followed their own rules and acted against the cartel's rules.
So if we were going to rescue Masha Rigovich, we decided right away that we weren't going to need money, but attention. And look, we figured if cartel representatives saw that it was all over the media, and if they saw it would be hard to get away with this, then maybe they would decide it would be easier to let her go than to kill her. And that was what we put all of our hope into. And luckily, that was how it all worked out. Masha Rigovich is free already and not in Mexico, and had a chat with her over video call.
Am I cutting out?
No, I can hear you perfectly.
Okay, that's great. Okay, so we went out in our car, and literally half a minute later, we were approached by this old pickup. I remember it was not in the best condition, and a few men climbed out of it, and somehow, I can't explain it, but I thought that when I looked into their eyes, they looked like they were murky. So already from just looking into their eyes, I started getting quite scared. And I also thought that they came across as a bit cocky. They really seemed quite rough to me. They interrogated us, who we were, why are we there, and those guys also carrying radios. I can't remember where, but I just remember that I could hear voices coming from different places. You know, that distinct radio that you often hear in TV shows. It starts with that sharp blah, 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 and when it ends, you hear that hissing sound. And for some reason, right in that moment, when I heard the sound of the radios they had with them, I realized it was a cartel.
Masha was with Brenda, a friend of hers from Mexico, and not wanting to stick around for a conversation, they decided to get out of there fast.
We got into the car, closed the windows, and turned around so we could go. We turned around and tried to get away, and Brenda's dad was driving, so we were trying to leave. And as soon as we did that, the pickup truck reversed and put itself across the road. You could see that they were not afraid of anybody crashing into them. They had a lot of confidence. And then Brenda's dad turned sharply, which was risky, but he had to find a way around them. And he got us out of the trap. And we drove a bit further. Brenda was looking at the map and telling her dad when to turn right and left. And I was busy sending people voice notes telling them what was happening, and I was also sending texts. And at no point did I think that I should get in touch with the police, because I had read in travel blogs that you can't rely on the police. There's no point in asking Mexican police for anything.
But after all of that, the cartel members still got them.
One after the other, they kept piling in the pickups. And at one moment, they surrounded us and we had to stop. The men started pouring out of the trucks like a bunch of cockroaches. Then they started interrogating Brenda. Who are you? And Brenda started telling them about her child. She kept telling them that I'm just her friend and to leave me alone. That they were not trying to take money from the cartels by trying to run their own immigrant scheme, though I wasn't an immigrant.
Yeah.
At some point, I realized that Brenda had somehow managed to negotiate the release of both her baby and her father as well. And I felt a lot of relief, because before, I can't even explain to you how worried I was that they would also be taken hostage and that there would be a ransom demanded, or what scared me the most was that they might all be killed, because we had tried to run and they had chased us. And I was sure that I was really convinced that they were going to kill us because they were pissed that they had to chase us.
The gangsters decided to let the Mexican family go and take Masha hostage.
I was in the car, surrounded by those guys, and there were 2 people in the front and 2 people in the back, and I was sitting in the middle. I had already heard a lot about what happens when the cartels go and kidnap people. They want money, but when it comes to the woman, I heard this from a guy who crossed the border from Mexico to America. He had somehow managed to get across for $1,000. So, I had heard from him that it might not even be money that they demand, but they might just demand sex. Basically, they rape women. And I think that in my case, it would have probably been a lot easier than them calling my family and demanding they pay ransom for my release, even though it would have been an even worse trauma. But they kept me around to rape me and then let me go. It would have been easier than what happened.
The U.S. border is the end of a long and dangerous road for illegal immigrants from Mexico. Now, Elia and I are 1,000 kilometers from there, in the city of Tuxtla Gutierrez, in the Chiapas region in the south. And it is in this town where the immigrants have their first encounters with the cartels. When they get there, they are charged up to $400 for the right to cross the border. And then there are 2 routes, for the people with money, pickup or cargo truck. In the best case scenario, you will spend several days stuck in one of these, and often packed like sardines in a tin. And this is a luxurious option, which can cost up to $10,000. If you don't have money, you'll have to walk from the north to the south, or ride La Bestia, which is a freight train that has been nicknamed the Death Train.
La Bestia, the train of death.
This is a video that immigrants filmed themselves and then gave to me. They are riding right on top of the carriages in the middle of the night, out in the freezing cold, tied to each other while they are asleep. Of course, it is unbelievably dangerous. During the day, there is no escape from the sun, and even those people who are used to it still get burnt.
This is what happens to skin after a couple of days. It's red, and there's a bit of purple.
But the most dangerous thing isn't the sun. The most dangerous thing is to be kidnapped by the cartels.
Why would you kidnap the immigrant? They don't even have any money for a ticket, which is why they take the route in the first place. And sometimes they do have money, but they still choose that. So they can save that money. But the thing is, what they are doing is illegal in Mexico. And they're trying to cross the border illegally. And when they're on the other side, they can't afford a ticket for the bus because of their economic status, which is the reason they go to the flea markets. So sometimes the cartel kidnaps them and they start demanding money from their relatives. And a lot of the time the relatives are already living in the United States of America. And these relatives who are in the United States will just pay the ransom. And sometimes, if there are no relatives in the States, the ransom is paid, for example, by people in the village where the person is from. They get the money together and try to buy them back from the cartels.
The victims who have survived tell some truly horrific stories.
Dad, please help us. Please send these people what they're asking for so that they don't kill us.
If you don't give them the money, they cut off my finger.
They beat me with their fists, a hammer, tortured me.
Oscar Wall was held captive for 5 days and tortured so badly that his legs turned into a mess.
They hit me right here, you see? The hammer got all the way to the bone. Ha! And look here, one was beating me up and another one was stabbing me with an ice pick. And while they were doing that, one was standing on me. 1 foot here at the throat and another foot on my stomach. I thought it was over for me.
The gangsters put that all on video because there is a special portal on the internet which pays a lot of money for that footage and then posts it for people to watch. I won't advertise it here or show you the full video because it is filled with unbelievable violence. I will just tell you that they often cut off body parts, including the head.
No one wants to die like that. I put my hands like that and just started choking. I was dying, bro. I was dying and losing my breath right there. And it was like, oh, this is it, this is it. And I started hearing all the noise and everything started going away. And then I said, no, man, I don't want to die. I just pushed him away.
The place looked like a shack. The bricks looked super old. Inside was filthy. It was covered in a cement mixture and there was plaster everywhere. Everything was covered in layers of dirt. It was filled with smoke and stank, and the light was very bad, just a single lamp on a wire. And every day they would interrogate me over and over again, and they recorded most of my answers on video. And they asked me if I had any surgeries. No, I haven't. Well, I wanted to do an operation on you. That made me freeze. Because before that, the guys from Russian-speaking community told me that those people I see on the missing persons posters all over Mexico, on street corners, and that they're also put on houses and street lights. There are really lots and lots and lots of posters. They're all over the place, and that really strikes fear into the heart. And there is this sort of legend among Russian speakers that most of these people were kidnapped for organ harvesting. And when they said that they wanted to operate on me, all of those thoughts went through my head, and that scared me even more.
It's not just a legend that the cartels sell the organs of people they kidnap.
Authorities have found 45 bags that contain human organs.
And reports like that are constantly making it to the news.
When they brought my backpack from the car, they started unpacking it and throwing my things around without any shame. At one point, they took out my underwear and started mocking it. Oh, it's a woman's bra. Oh my God, look at it. And look at these panties. At some point, they found a kitchen knife and said it was a weapon. And then they took that knife to the kitchen. And I only found out later that all of my toiletries, like my soap, my pads, my deodorant, had been shared among all the hostages. Everyone had used a bit. Because there hadn't been a brick of soap of any kind in the shower for a long time, and thanks to me, they finally had some. And they also got some toilet paper.
Hang on, so you weren't the only hostages there?
Yeah, there were quite a few.
Hostages were separated into rooms for men and rooms for women.
Before I was taken to the sleeping space, I noticed a big pile of shoes. It was a very, very big pile. There were all sorts of worn out shoes on it. There were boots and sandals. And I thought to myself, are they really taking people out and just killing them in the bush? I thought it was horrific, like the German fascists. And I was very, very frightened. It was unbelievable. It felt like my heart was trying to jump out of my body. I was scared. It was the kind of pain that you can't get rid of. It was like a strong, spasmodic pain that won't go anywhere. No matter how you lie down, it doesn't matter whether you lie on your right side or on your left side. So, of course, there's no way you can fall asleep. And the woman who was sorting through my things, she also turned out to be a hostage, and she also came into the room, and she was sleeping in the spot on the floor right next to the bed. There was no space on the bed, so she put a blanket under her and a blanket over her and slept. I kept trying to find ways to distract myself. I would try sitting up and then try curling up, and I kept on running to the bathroom.
Green light, let's get it. I'm the future, I'm in it. Check score, I'm winning. Green light, let's get it.
Now we are in Chiapas, and going into the jungles that are on the border of Guatemala. How far is it from here to Guatemala?
It's about 250 kilometers.
Asfalto agreed to show me places where there are immigrants walking, and he also asked me to blur out his face and not film him too much. And from what I've heard, cartels normally attack in the evening?
Yeah, you heard right. They only really come out at night.
Uh-huh. And when we are traveling in the daytime, is it safe?
Yeah, it's safer. Cartels came and they took over the whole of Chiapas. Uh-huh. And they felt like such big men that they started to take land.
Mm-hmm.
Which, the government used to be in control of before, and the government itself often just allowed it to happen. They let them. There are areas that you shouldn't go, because you will be killed, no question.
But how am I supposed to know that as a foreigner? How do I know where I can and can't go safely?
Well, the best thing to do would be to find somebody along the way and ask them if it's safe to go there. Or another option would be to find a local and ask them to go with you. They can say this area is bad, although there is a safer route this way. But even then you could get a surprise. And even for those of us who were born in Mexico, there are places we don't go. Yeah.
Really? We've been driving and driving, and now all of a sudden we've come to a stop. There's a checkpoint in the middle of the road. In Chiapas, you often don't have any idea whose land you are driving on. This is a map prepared by one of the local universities. The main warring cartels here are Sinaloa, Jalisco New Generation, the Zetas cartel, Zaliva, and the local cartel Chiapas, and the local Indian socialists who are fighting for independence. You could call them separatists. And there are some pretty rough people living in the area. Here is an example of how things work here for you to understand. A local politician, Juan Camacho, came to campaign in a small town where the locals were very unhappy that the authorities didn't give them the money to build some public infrastructure, so they took him and put a noose around his neck. It was only when he transferred money to the local community that they agreed to set him free. This is called direct democracy. But the funniest thing is that the same politician, Juan Camacho, a few months later, made an appearance in the town, and everyone acted as if nothing had happened. They even had a drink together. The cartels use social media to hire new fighters, and they're also not at all shy about posting videos of the salaries that their members can make.
Thank you very much for my first salary. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you guys.
Man, life is good.
When a stranger comes to town and everybody knows who's coming and who's leaving, they report you and start keeping an eye on you and start monitoring your activities because they need to know why you're here. And if you're not a cop, and if you're not a journalist, and if you're not from a rival cartel, you're fine. But still, a lot of people go missing because they're mistaken for the wrong person. They get those people confused with a member of a rival cartel or They think you're a journalist. You have to be careful. Anything can happen, you know? So I'll say it again. You really need to find out where it's safe to go.
So, which of the cartels has the most control over this area?
There are two, and they have mostly driven the other ones out. That's the Jalisco New Generation Cartel and the Sinaloa Cartel. And the guys from Sinaloa, we call them Chapitos.
El Chapo Guzman, also known as Shorty Guzman, the notorious leader of the Sinaloa cartel, who found his way out of prison twice, is currently serving a life sentence in the United States, but still remains one of the most powerful mafia bosses in the entire world. And this is what he had to say before his most recent arrest in an interview with actor Sean Penn.
Did you know how Pablo Escobar spent the last few days of his life?
Pablo Escobar was in hiding, and he spent a lot of time in jungles where he would burn piles of dollars to keep himself warm, but in the end was still shot by the police.
So here's my next question. How'd you plan on spending your last days?
I know I'm gonna die one day, but it will be a natural death.
And the leader of Jalisco New Generation? El Mencho.
El Mencho managed to avoid being caught by anyone, and that is despite the bounty of $10 million that was put on his head.
The Sinaloa cartel doesn't want to let the Jalisco New Generation cartel take over their territories or the routes they operate. And this is why they're fighting in Chiapas. Do you get it?
So basically, this is a war over immigrants because they want to control the routes that they take. The routes of the immigrants.
The immigrant routes are not just about people. Those are the gates to Latin America. And that means the routes for drugs, understand? Immigration is now a huge sphere of business. And there are an unbelievable range of interests in it. Everybody wants control over it.
The flow of immigrants is not only a flow of people who can be robbed. The routes for immigrants stretches from Ecuador to America, and along this entire route, a person can move virtually without documents and hide away, which means it is easy to traffic drugs and weapons. And along these routes, there are policemen and gangs and border agents who profit. But the main thing about it is that it has an influence over politics. And this is worth a lot of money. It's power, and all of this is controlled by the cartels.
Yeah, I'm all in. Brody on the line, I'm tapping in. Got out here pulling the strings for me. A girl on the line, she feeling me.
This is the railway station at Tuxtla Gutierrez. And this is the first stop for immigrants who are hoping to catch a bus that will take them across Mexico from the north to the south. They obviously can't get plane tickets since they're in the country illegally without documents, but that also means they shouldn't be sold bus tickets either. Tickets are officially only sold to people who have a passport with the stamp saying they came into the country legally. None of these people have that stamp. They live right in the parking lot right in front of the station. Of course, the thing that caught me most by surprise was how many children are here. The amount of children is truly unbelievable.
It's this little boy's birthday today. Say happy birthday.
Happy birthday. See this sign in the store that says one can only buy 3 kilos of sugar per person? They've limited it, and that is because immigrants are buying as much sugar as they can, since it is the cheapest form of energy. One of the immigrants is helping me carry everything. Yeah. I bought all this for the kids.
Guys, keep the good work. Keep it up.
Obviously, the candy is the most popular thing. This woman grabs a chocolate bar and hides it in her pocket. She really doesn't want anyone else to have it. Another one takes some chocolate and hides it in her top. When it comes to helping immigrants, you're not allowed to do it directly. That would be like supporting, well, standing up for somebody as they break the country's laws, you know? But there is nothing against helping children. And that's why this food and water is mainly for the children, to help them survive, because you need to understand the temperature right now is over 30 degrees, and it is only the middle of the day. The temperature will rise this afternoon. And at the moment, we are in the cooler season, so when it is summer, I don't even want to imagine. Well, now just imagine. I want you to try and imagine how those people feel who spend several months walking through the jungle, who don't know exactly where they are. They've given their money to some gangsters. They're always being hunted, and people are constantly trying to rob them. They are being kidnapped for ransom, and those relatives need to then sell the last few things they own so they can get the money together to help. So that they can get the $50 or $100 for the gangsters who kidnapped them, and then they finally make it to Mexico, and this is where it really starts. This is where the real danger really begins, because when they get here, they're going to be robbed and kidnapped 10 times more than they were before. They will struggle even more on their journey to Mexico. They have at least another month of traveling ahead of them, and there are a few lucky ones who have money, maybe for a couple of weeks, but there are so many expenses and risks. Just imagine how difficult life must be in the countries that they have traveled so far from, that they would agree to go through all of this and bring their children with them.
Venezuela.
Venezuela! And how long have you been walking? How long have you been on the road?
Let me think. It's been quite a few months.
How many months?
3 months.
3? Oh wow. Look at this nice haircut and the well-looked-after stubble. This caravan is not full of some poor beggars who didn't have any place back in their home countries. No, these are all middle-class people who could save up for this journey. There are engineers and doctors and businessmen.
From Venezuela to Colombia, Panama, Costa Rica, Nicaragua, Honduras, Guatemala, and now Mexico.
And which part of this route was the most expensive?
Well, the Guatemala and Mexico border.
Guatemala to Mexico is the most expensive? How much money must you pay in Guatemala?
Oh, well, you have to pay the police off there to let you through.
So how much, roughly?
Around $100, sometimes $150.
That is the price per person. By comparison, to get across Mexico, the immigrants will have to pay at the very least, $1,500 per person. After that, they will have to pay the same amount to get across the American border.
Excuse me, can you help?
I already helped.
We need food and drink for the children.
Yeah, I already did that.
But for a baby, to drink.
Come on, it was over there. I already bought some.
Don't you understand?
A bit.
Are you asking
yes,
for milk?
For the baby.
You want milk?
Baby food.
This woman just came up to me and said that she's very grateful for what I already bought, but what she really needs now is food that she can feed her baby with. So you walked here with 2 children and also, who else?
With my niece too.
Oh.
With my niece.
Your niece?
And my husband. But he isn't here now.
Uh-huh.
He went to look for a job.
Uh-huh.
And he hasn't come back. I've been waiting. I haven't heard from him in 15 days.
Wow. And what kind of work?
This one guy took him.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And we hope he comes back so that we can go on.
But why hasn't he called for 15 days?
Because that guy took him to another friend of his.
Uh-huh.
They took him to do work. He has to do something and then he'll come back.
Can you imagine how this woman with 2 children and a missing husband feels? Here she is in a strange country, and she's been waiting in this parking lot for her husband to join her for 15 days. Will he come back? Is he alive? There's no way she can know. Personally, there's no way I can even begin to imagine this. How much would you say it usually is from Venezuela to Mexico?
I think the most expensive part of the trip must have been when we went through the jungles.
The jungles? Was that in Salvador?
Yeah, we went through those jungles. Lots of people died.
They died on the way to Mexico?
Yeah. But slowly we moved and we kept walking. We were always trying to help each other as much as we could. And we always tried to support each other in any way that we could. And then we finally got here. We made it to Mexico. I can't find it here. Sorry, we went the wrong way. I think this is it. What can I take?
Tell me what you need. This one?
Yes, but I need enough for 2 children.
Yep, we will get enough.
And, may I get milk?
Yes, of course. Let's go.
And there's something else I need for one of the children. Oh yeah, that's it, thank you. I appreciate it.
We were already in line when that lady remembered that she didn't get a baby bottle. She spent a lot of time looking for the right colored bottle for her baby. I guess mothers, even in the toughest times, will always be mothers. And won't take just anything for their babies.
Is that for boys or for girls?
This one is for boys and this one is for both. Will you be paying?
No, I'm not paying. This man's buying it for my babies.
Oh my goodness, that's so generous. You are a good father.
What do you think this woman was before she decided to take her children and go to America, knowing that she was going to be dealing with jungles and cartels?
Well, in 2019, I was working as a nanny for the Chavez family lawyers.
Ah, you were a nanny before
I
this.
was a nanny for their daughter.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And
my husband was a pretty successful engineer.
Uh-huh. Did you say Chavez, as in the Chavez family? Like Hugo Chavez?
Yeah, Hugo Chavez, that's the one.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Hugo Chavez was the president of Venezuela who ruled there until 2013, after which he transferred power over to Nicolas Maduro. The country has deteriorated so much to the point where millions of people have started fleeing, and the advocate who employed this woman was the chief prosecutor of Venezuela during Chavez's reign, Luisa Ortega, who also fled the country. No.
I went to her house to work, and one day she told me to take a couple of days off, and when I came back a few days later, she wasn't at home. She'd left the country and the house, and she never came back.
And where did she go?
No, I don't know. I heard from someone that she was seen in Italy. It was back in 2017 when I heard that, but honestly, I don't know where she is now.
And what do you think you're going to do once you've made it into America?
I'm gonna work. I really like working. I don't like to sit around doing nothing. I would really like for my child to have a future, and I'll do what I have to. I'll make that happen. And that's why we're on this journey. We want a better future for our children, and unfortunately, they won't get that in Venezuela.
What are you watching? What video are you watching?
Horse racing in Venezuela.
I see.
American horses.
And what mobile connection are you using? Is it a Mexican one?
Yeah.
And what are you watching?
The same.
Ah.
This is horse racing in Caracas.
And tell me how you're charging your phones. What are the two of you using for electricity? I'm curious.
Oh, yeah. When we go into the coffee shop, we charge our phones in there. It's pretty simple.
Ah. I find all of this absolutely amazing. In any society, there will be stratification. You understand? There will be people who don't even have enough money to their names to be able to afford some baby milk powder. And then there are others who watch videos on their new smartphones. These guys can afford to buy a new SIM card and then go sit in a restaurant to charge their phones. I guess that's life.
Green light, let's get it. I'm the future, I'm in it. Check score, I'm winning. Green light, let's get
The
it.
legend of Malverde? Well, I'm not gonna tell you the whole story, but he was our Robin Hood. He stole from the rich and gave to the poor. And that's the story in a nutshell.
It's one heck of a story.
In Mexico, the cartels and drug trafficking are so embedded in their society that at one point something like a saint of drug lords appeared. So guys, this is Malverde, or Jesus Malverde. Of course, he's not really a saint, but Mexico respects him. He is, in some sense, the patron saint of drug trafficking. Of course, I've seen different things. One can even worship death, but to go and worship a drug trafficker, a saint of drug trafficking, it's something I've never seen before and something that only exists in Mexico. Malverde has cannabis leaves on his shoulders, lots of money in his hands, and he's also sitting on cannabis and money. Jesus Malverde. This is Mercado de Sonora, a famous market in Mexico. It's considered to be the largest witches market in Latin America by a long way. In this place, You'll find paraphernalia for every religion. For example, they have Christian statues like these massive Virgin Marys here. And here they have a few types of horsetail. A bunch of different chains for Santeria, which is very popular in the north of Latin America, and it comprises of a mixture of Christianity and African cults. They have all kinds of animal tail. Also, you can find all kinds of animal heads and claws. Even the fat of coyotes, which they use in sacrifices. There is anything you could want. For example, here they have some cauldrons, which are used for sacrifices in Palomalombe and lots of other Latin American religions, many of which are mixed up with Christianity and different African cults. And you can find all of this stuff in a single market. I mean, look at this too. Look at these bags of different herbs here. And these are also for all sorts of different religious and even sometimes occult rituals. The animals here are also not meant for eating. These knives are especially for sacrifices. And to pay for all these magic things, you just make a simple bank transfer. The Latin American religious beliefs is something I went into detail in one of my previous videos. You're going to see a link to it drop down. If you haven't yet, check it out. But the main things people have dedicated to veneration and worship to in the Sonora market are two characters, Santa Muerta, or the Saint of Death, and our old friend Saint Malverde.
Now in Sinaloa, the state of Sinaloa, there's a huge altar that's been built with an idol of Malverde. Malverde is highly respected.
The main church of drug dealers is located in the city of Culiacan, which is considered the capital of the Sinaloa cartel. There's no exact data which can confirm whether Jesus Malverde actually lived in this world, but those who believe he did believe that this is the place he died back in 1909. The church that honors his life was built in the early 1970s, just when the first drug cartels were starting to gain a foothold in Mexico. They began to create romantic myths about themselves and what they did. Films were made with money supplied by the cartels, and a whole genre of Mexican music appeared, which they called narco corrido. These were ballads about good drug dealers. The Sinaloa cartel was more successful than others in mythologizing itself, even if it was scary. Here, the leader of the Tijuana cartel, Francisco Aurelia, is listening to a narco ballad. The event is his birthday party on the 18th of October, 2013. Out of nowhere, a clown appears, and in a few seconds, things start turning horrific. The clown in question was the most famous sicario, or killer, in the Sinaloa cartel's history. Jose Arechiga, aka Al Chino, the Chinese. He was considered to be absolutely crazy. At one point there were rumors that Al Chino actually liked to use a chainsaw to cut the skin off of living people, and he created something like a gangster special forces, Anthrax Battalion, who had a very distinct logo, which was a glittering ring shaped like a skull. This is footage from a unit training session, and it really does look like Special Forces training. Forced marches through jungles, training to shoot with sniper rifles, survival courses, the urban combat training. The same training, but from a different cartel, was given to the killer that I spoke to on the American border. Here he is showing a tattoo from the Mexicali cartel.
We all got trained as if we were in some kind of army unit. There were rules about everything. To start, rule number 1, your boss is always above everything else. The second rule is, your boss comes first, your boss comes second, and your boss comes third. You can't do anything except what your boss says. Your boss, or maybe your chief, or whatever you call him. The next rule is, if you betray anyone, you pay with your blood. And here I am. I got out of the cartel, and even though I'm not betraying them, they still see it as a betrayal. And that means that I'll have to pay for my blood. Do you understand what I'm saying? Another rule was, no man gets left behind. So if one of our guys gets wounded, we can't run away. We have to get him. You always fight for them.
So, like in the army?
Yes, like in the army, precisely. We have rankings in the cartels. You can be a normal soldier, you can be a lieutenant or a captain, and after that, there's the general. And the generals have the most fun. Bro told me that if I want more money, he can help me out. But if I want to get involved, I need big balls. I said I was in, just tell me what to do. And he told me I had to kill and to butcher. That's it, kill.
So then you made it to the level of a sicario.
I became sicario. I started to make money, 20,000 pesos a week.
20,000 pesos. So basically that was your salary. It wasn't like that was per murder, it was a salary.
Yeah. If you eliminate, say, 50 guys, they give you 20,000. Eliminate one shark, and you are also paid 20,000 pesos.
That sounds like how it works in a factory. This is for killing a man, but you still want more.
You always want much more. Always more.
The more work a killer does for the cartel, the more his rank rises. At one point, El Chino was living like a king. We know this from what he posted on social media. He might have blurred out his face, but he always had his ring that was shaped like a skull and covered in diamonds, the symbol of the Sinaloa cartel's anthrax unit. He had many cars. Here he is in an expensive supercar, waving a machine gun out of the window, and here he has his foot on the wheel of another luxury car. He also posted pictures of his extensive travels, like this one where he's relaxing at the sea, and he even posted a picture with the famous Paris Hilton, the heiress of the huge hotel and entertainment empire, which finally got him the entire world's attention. Especially when Paris Hilton herself showed up at a party in New York wearing one of the battalion's special rings. But then eventually, El Chino was arrested when he tried to get into Amsterdam with false documents, thanks to a simple picture that he posted.
So I started to kill people. I didn't even know, and now I've been thinking, was it right to kill all those people? Did they even deserve it? What did they do wrong? It's all I can think about these days. But at that time, honestly, that's how it was. That's how I started. I was taken out to a house or some kind of hideout. It was this massive mansion with 5 bedrooms, and there were 8 of us there. We weren't allowed to go anywhere. They didn't let us leave. They didn't let us do anything. You have to be in this fucking house 24/7 until we call you and tell you to go kill someone. You go and do the job, then you come back to the house. You can't go anywhere else. You have to stay here. You can't even visit prostitutes. You can't do anything. This house is the only place you'll be. There were 8 of us in total. We were called Active, and we were basically a convoy of special unit. And for the 8 of us, the house was filled with all the food and beer we wanted. There were drugs as well.
Over the last few years, the cartels have needed hitmen like never before. The leaders of the Sinaloa cartel have been arrested, and the Jalisco New Generation have had to go into hiding. There is an ongoing war between the groups for the future redistribution of property.
There is a war. There is a constant war in Juarez between all the cartels. We have the La Linea cartel, the Aztecas, the Mexico City cartel, and the Jaliscos. Right now, we are in the Linnea's territory. All the territory from up here, where the border is, down to the center. You go to Torres, and that whole region there, that's the Mexicalis. Torres, San Pancho, San Isidro, all that belongs to the Mexicalis. And then you get Juarez, which belongs to Sinaloa. And in the valley, they're trying to push us out. And we're the only ones who are jumping on them. And I use the word we because a part of me still feels like I'm a part of the cartel. We were the only ones who stormed the valley and put up a proper fight. We started to kill the guys from Sinaloa cartel, and that day we walked out victorious. Juarez saw an incredible amount of blood on that day. It was all over the news.
The Los Chiapas were attacked by the group in power, Mexicales. And that was the start of the bloodbath.
At least 6 of the men arrested were members of the Mexicales cartel.
That was the day this tattoo became known to the whole of Mexico, the distinguished symbol of the Mexicales cartel.
This is the mark of the cartel I belong to.
So this is the tattoo of your cartel?
Made in Mexico.
Oh, wow. And does every member of the cartel have the same tattoo? I mean, everyone, do they all get it?
Everybody gets it.
Can I get a better look?
Hang on.
Wow.
I know. It's pretty impressive, isn't it?
And if somebody else out there, well, what happens to somebody if they get that tattoo, but they're not a member of the cartel?
There are two options. The first, I can give my boss a call and tell him there's someone who has our tattoo. And if I told him to kill them, I'd do it. But if it is some guy from our own territory who just wants to join the cartel, then we can just make him hide the tattoo. I'd go to him, say, look, son of a bitch, hide that tattoo, or we will have to take you out.
And does each cartel have its own unique mark?
Well, the Aztecs have a circle with the Aztec calendar, and they might have some feathers too on their chest or something like that. And there's also one that has a woman in her hat. One has a skull. To be honest, I don't know what Sinaloa has. I think they're like musicians. They get tattoos of stars on their bodies. And they also have wings. Every cartel has its own. And we attacked the Juarez Valley to get the Sinaloa cartel out.
Right. Why did you decide to do it at that time?
Because we were getting tired of them, because they try to get over our border. They came from their territory and they tried to get over our border so they could push drugs and everything else through there. And we started fighting back because we had enough guns. And we had soldiers, so we told those bastards that they had no place here. Those bastards forced their way into our territory. And we had some help from soldiers from the Sinaloa cartel. So we jumped them and made a bloodbath in the valley. There was no way they could have defeated us that day. Honestly, it brings tears to my eyes. For real, in all honesty. I'm very ashamed of what we did. We burned the grocery stores to the ground and tore the town up.
Here, the fighters of his unit are ramming down the door of a store using a stolen car because they want to burn everything down. They opened fire on supermarkets, gas stations, any businesses that were in the territory that belonged to Sinaloa, and therefore paid them ransom.
So when all that started, there was a lot of violence. It was scary.
Oh my God. The authorities have said that the death toll from today's violence is up to 3. That the Mexicalis came specifically for 3 specific people from another gang.
Many people were beaten. They have wounds all over their legs. They were shooting and throwing Molotov cocktails.
Those were my people, and that's the truth. We were burning supermarkets, we were burning gas stations, we were burning buses. We turned Juarez into a pile of shit. And I'm not proud of it at all. But it was something we had to do. They didn't give us a choice. And when we went into their territory, we had vests, helmets, we had weapons, machine guns, grenades, Berettas. We were a small army, fully.
But isn't Sinaloa the biggest cartel in Mexico?
Shit.
But weren't you scared or apprehensive of starting a war with them?
Honestly, no. We had no fucking fear. We're realists. We're all human. We can all be hit by bullets. We can all die. Where is El Chapo? He's gone to jail. And now his son has also joined him there. We all know how this ends. We all die or end up in prison. There is no other way around it.
You can be in the club with your girlfriend. And if a gangster wants her, then he can just come up and take her away. You know?
Is there anything you can do?
No, nothing. And if you maybe go up to the wrong lady, but you don't know that she's with a man that has certain power. And the guy gets to know that you are flirting with her or you're going out with her, there will be repercussions.
Is it like cartel members can kill anybody? It can feel free to do that and they don't get punished or anything like that?
Well, I think lots of people feel that way, like they don't have to worry, but even in their clubs, they have certain rules.
Yeah?
Yeah, they cannot go out trigger-happy, killing people like this, unless the cartel says yes. And if you do that, it makes things get hot. It gets the attention that you don't want.
Yeah.
So, it's not something that they do often. But they do have people that do. There are people that lose it, and when you're in traffic, you honk.
Yeah.
They get angry. They're just stupid people with guns. Well, some of them.
Alright guys, this is the most famous part of the border between Mexico and the USA. In Tijuana, which is right on the Pacific Ocean. I promise you, it's there. It's in the fog behind this border control agent. This part is covered in graffiti and is very old. And this here, these metal bars, are buried deep in the ground. The gaps are wide enough for me to get my fist through. There is barbed wire along most of the top, and as you can see, they have also put barbed wire on the ground. It goes on like this for tens and hundreds of kilometers. And right here, at the top, there's a piece of graffiti showing Trump and Biden kissing, and that's because both of them had a lot to do with the building of this wall. Although I rarely have to add that Biden insisted that while he's in power, it's never going to be built. But as you can see today, it is being built, and it will be built tomorrow. And this door here, according to legend, is opened one time a year on that side. They do it so that people here can see their relatives who immigrated to America. And so supposedly, people really do come here and they give their relatives a hug. And then they just come back. Once they've done that and said what they want to, everyone separates again. And the patrols allow it, according to legend. But in truth, there isn't much evidence of that. Nonetheless, the door is right here. And as you can see, it says love. And over there on the other side, there on the American side, they also have a little door of their own. There are also many legends on the methods that people resort to get across. There is almost nothing that the illegal immigrants will not try. If they can, they will climb. There are special ladders they use to do this. Others see if they can find open gates and doors. There are a few. Here you can see a woman with a child, with nothing but a piece of cardboard to protect her, crawling under the barbed wire. Illegal immigrants also risk their lives by hiding in the trucks. Sometimes people will even become one with a car seat to try and sneak themselves over the border. A lot of people hire coyotes, who charge those people a small fortune to get them over the border under the cover of the dark night. The coyotes will then pay the cartels to allow them to carry out their activities on cartel territory. In his film, Ilya Bondarev spends time with one of those coyotes.
You go to a place and say, I want to work here. I want to bring people through here. You ask how much they'll charge, then they call the boss and ask him. After that, they'll give you a quote. Let's say, for example, it's $600. You have to pay for each person you bring through there. They take a picture of you in your car, and the next time you bring someone, you have to bring money for safe passage. And I can tell you this. These days, the market price is $1,000. So you find that people who do this, on average, will make $1,000. Some people make a bit more. Some people make a bit less.
No, I'm studying like a milli rocket. Skin clear, still look young, Andy Miller knockers, money in my pocket.
Alright guys, so where I'm pointing now is one of the main crossing points for the coyotes. And here there's an area of 7 kilometers where there's no fence. So from there, it goes and goes and goes and goes, and then it just stops for 7 kilometers. And there's simply no fencing. For some reason, there's nothing. This is where we are. The border goes along the Colorado River, and here's how it works. Firstly, you have the river, and then you have some sewage pipes, and then you have the wall itself. There is a checkpoint in this area, and there's a bridge leading up to it, which you can cross legally. And look what's next to it. A space with no bridge to cross it. It's almost as if they made it like this on purpose so that there would be a direct route straight into American territory. And that way, about 15 meters from these bushes, you will get into America. If we just go down here and run that way a little, we'll be in America. And look at this. There is litter everywhere you look. There are jars and bottles and trash and trash and trash that the immigrants have left in their wake. The immigrants cross this patch of land in their masses, but the thing is, they usually only do it at night. Of course, I'm not going to try cross because that will be breaking the law. I'm just going to go up to it so that I can show you what it looks like. I don't think that it will be safe to try push my luck. This is what it looks like from above. You can see in the distance the fence comes to an end, and then, after that, it's just the borderline without any barriers. Naturally, this part of the border is controlled very tightly by the cartel. Because this is a gold mine for them, in these 7 kilometers, you can easily smuggle hundreds of people through. However, it is quite difficult to get through all these bushes. It's not as easy as you'd think. I'm getting stuck here. Normal immigrants are known locally as polos, which means little chickens. And they're taken through the border by poleros, and these are regular smugglers who have a very simple job. They get you to the border, and that's it. Once they get to the other side, the immigrants don't hide, but rather give themselves up to the Americans and request asylum. As it happens, drug smugglers, who carry dozens of kilos of product on them, are generally called burro or burritos, and that means little donkeys. And their final destination is not the border, but deep in America, and naturally, they're undercover. And the escorts who smuggle them are called coyotes. In reality, the biggest danger that the immigrants have to face are actually animals. Just look at how many footprints there are here. Right here, we have the prints of coyotes, wild coyotes. There are all sorts of wild animals around here, and they're especially active at night. Guys, so you understand, I'm completely here alone. I got sent this location, but the coyote said he wasn't going to bring me here. Because he said he doesn't need more problems, but I was curious to see if it really is that easy to get all the way to the border, or if that's a myth. It's scary being out here alone. If the cartels find me, then I'm going to have to make a plan. Let's go. You know, guys, to tell you the truth, I'm scared. I'm scared. You walk, and it's scary. Take a moment to imagine walking here. Barbed wire everywhere. You can't turn your phone on. You can't turn a torch on, so you don't get seen. You crawl along, and birds fly up to the right and left. All you can do is just pray that no actual coyote sees you as a meal. And not to get shot by a rogue cop, or a soldier from the cartel. Okay, so here's the river, guys. There's a path to get to it over there. So you just go down the path and find yourself at the river. This river, guys, so you understand, that's the river and that's us. Right on the border with America. Right across the river. You can see that there isn't any kind of wall or any barrier. Right over there is America. You can imagine who made this. Who built this wall up to here, then stop suddenly, and then carry on a few kilometers later. The official story is that it's because of some conflict over territory on the American side. But in reality, it seems to me that this gap was created especially for the transfer of illegal immigrants, so that anything can be taken into America for a healthy amount of money. That's really what it looks like. The cartels control access to points like this very tightly. The coyote shared a few tricks with me to stop me from getting caught, and I'm not going to share them with you here, so that I don't encourage you guys to do dangerous things like this yourselves. In the last episode, I showed you how scouts from a cartel caught me and a local journalist, Pacquiao, and I know that was in a different place, but it was from the same playbook. Let me try and explain this to you now. Over there, behind my back, you will see the scouts. They're in that car over there. You can see that the car doesn't have plates. So, hang on, let me make it look like I'm not actually using the camera now. Those guys are busy monitoring who is crossing the border and that there aren't any unknowns. So if they see that I'm recording, we might have problems. Yeah, I'll turn off the camera. Yeah. You see that? This place is right on the border. The wall is behind them, and nearby, there's a sign that says parking is not allowed. So it's only scouts from a cartel who would have pulled over like this. Look at this. The car does not have any plates, and the guys inside have just covered their faces up with masks, probably because they don't want to be caught by the American Special Forces, who obviously do quite a bit of work in the Mexican territory. Or maybe it's because they're scared of some kind of bug they have out in the desert. What do you think? Immigrants walk past them in a steady stream to get across the border, and they count them. So they know how much to charge the poleros for guiding them to the border, and they make sure there are no extras. Nothing goes unregistered. It's now 7:30 in the morning. Another group of immigrants, has set out to cross the border. This period of time is called the window. This is when the cartels and the authorities have agreed to leave an opening for the immigrants. When the immigration services conveniently leave their checkpoints and wait for the new shift to take over. See that? The immigrants have all started running because they don't want to be late for their window. It's not something that they can miss. Like they don't know that this is the time when immigrants are going to be crossing the border. Oh, whoa. It's totally crazy how they figured all this out. They all move in family packs, and most of them have weeks and weeks of difficult travel behind them. But the remaining few dozen meters will be harder and more dangerous for them than the thousands of kilometers they've already covered. Now this group is heading for Gate 36, which is legendary among illegal immigrants.
So that there is America.
Yes. Jose goes with the immigrants, but doesn't plan on crossing the border. Every morning, he goes to collect all the things that they have left behind at the crossing. When the morning window to cross is closed, Jose takes several rucksacks of rubbish back to town. You won't believe what he finds.
I found a few apples. Apples.
Look at this, guys. These rucksacks are full of things that the immigrants left behind. Immigrants who have already crossed the border into the USA, just before they crossed, they got rid of any extra weight at the last moment. Look, here's some food. And also some fruit and some toothpaste and spoons. The cartels don't touch Jose. He's useful to them because he helps clear the territory. If he didn't do this, the whole place would be covered in trash. Once he's collected everything, he sells all of it to immigrants at discount prices because they don't usually have money for new clothes or nice food. Look at this pile of stuff he found. It is from a recent crossing. At the bottom of the pile are some personal things. Colombia. Documents from Colombia. Venezuela. Look, here's a certificate. From a course that this person completed. And some other documents. Oh no, this looks like some kind of proof of income. Judging by the email address, this is from Ecuador.
So here, they cross the river to the other side.
Yeah.
You can go over if you want.
Why would they leave their documents behind?
They don't have as many things to carry.
But tell me how they live without documents.
They won't need them that side.
Just look at this, guys. Here, we have foundation cream, powder, special sponges they would have used to put their makeup on. A real woman will always be a real woman. Look at how many children's clothes they left behind. A little book. And there are even children's shoes. Look how nice these ones are. Look at this. These are little children's boots. The toys are all over. Just try and imagine how many children made the crossing. Where are they now? I have absolutely no idea. Here is a famous story. A bolero drops off two little girls at the border, and I am not going to show you the fall, and runs away. And then American authorities find the children. Actually, groups of lonely teens and young children are found on the American side every night.
They're all very hungry and tired.
These children are taken to special concentration camps. places where year after year, the record for amount of people being held there is broken and there is no space left. Journalists visiting the camp are only sometimes allowed in, and judging by the photographs and publicly available videos, children sleep on the floor under space blankets, and judging by the stories of their advocates, they are seldom allowed to go out for walks, and the conditions are not great. Much like the conditions of their lives before they even crossed the border. These people all paid for their crossing, and for their money, with what they have spent, they can be sure that they'll reach the border. The point of crossing without danger. The only thing is, I'm technically not allowed to film, so now I'm just praying that no cartel members have eyes on me. After all, the cartels don't want any publicity. But even with all the money that they gave to the cartels, there's no guarantee they'll be accepted on the other side. Maybe they will, maybe they won't, maybe they'll be deported. There are people crossing the river right now. Technically, as soon as they cross the Rio Grande, they're on American territory and they have the right to seek political asylum. But not everyone gets that. Right now, the river is shallow, and it's easy to get across. But sometimes, when the level goes up, people do drown. Amongst all the immigrants, there is a story, a legend, you could even say a myth, about the fabled Gate 36.
This is the site of the famous Gate 36.
Gate 36 is right in this spot.
This is the gate that fills the dreams of thousands of immigrants every day. And this gate of dreams is called Gate 36.
The story of Gate 36, which is supposedly always open, and which will definitely let anyone who gets to it into the USA, is a story I've heard from many immigrants.
Gate 36 is always open.
You can always get through
and
there.
I bet there's someone going through right now.
There are tons of pictures and videos online that all supposedly show how once illegal immigrants make it to the gate, the American authorities themselves let everyone in. All you need to do is get to the gate, and then you'll be allowed to cross the border. Why does everyone go specifically to Gate 36?
They wanted to go to the United States. They paid for it.
Why Gate 36? Why this gate? Why not 35 or 34?
It's special because they have big... Excuse me. Oh, hey, it's a very big gate. Close to the immigration authorities. It's easier for them.
Obviously, getting there is very difficult, and obviously, you need to pay the cartels, and the cartels don't let anybody get close. But if you find a way to get to Gate 36, everything will work out.
This is the coyote zone, and you could easily get killed. The immigration people chase everyone away.
Everyone.
You also need to pay them.
You have to pay a lot.
The thing about this gate is, it's always open, so anyone can go through.
Gate 36 is right there where I'm pointing. And as you can see, it really does exist here. And the huge numbers of immigrants who come here really do believe that this is a miracle gate that you can just walk right through. American authorities regularly deny all rumors about this miracle gate, but people believe anyway. Right in front of us, one of the immigrants crossed over the river and started looking for the hole in the fence. The moment he finds the hole, he probably reports the news to the others, and a couple of minutes later, the big group is following him. Do you see, right there? The immigrants pushed through the wire. And to not get hurt, they use their clothes, and as I'm speaking, they're all going right to the border. When you get to the border, American border guards show up in a pickup truck. A large group of illegal immigrants is already on American soil, so all the authorities can do is set fire to the clothes that they use to get over the barbed wire. Small fires like this can be seen all along the border. Look at that, guys. There is a woman with a small baby. Some women go to the border while they're pregnant, just so they can give birth in America, which will immediately give the child the right to American citizenship, and because of that, the parents will be allowed to stay in the country. And now pay attention to this, guys. The immigrants are all dry. They have crossed the river, but that happened a while ago. Since then, they've dried in the sun. And of course, the sun is burning bright, but luckily it's December and it's actually quite cold here. In reality, American military and border control tend to not be rough with the immigrants, and sometimes the opposite. They're bringing water over here. Watch this, guys. One of them was being searched, but he didn't have anything on him. So then they helped him with his bags. So they are being helpful, even though the immigrants are illegal. But nobody's being chased away. They're not being beaten and they're not being tortured. And it even feels like they're trying to help them out. But the thing is, according to the laws of border control, the guards can't actually let them in.
Well, what you saw, the Americans giving water, that's very odd. Because before, they didn't usually give them water. They just kept them there.
Do you think it could be because we are filming?
I don't. A little bit. I don't know. Maybe they've become a little bit more humane.
This is completely illegal, guys. You cannot do it. It is very dangerous. In reality, out of this group, which is now attempting this illegal crossing, well, you're going to see that not everybody is going to make it to the other side. But the scariest thing is that some of them really will die. That's the reality of the situation. Where did you learn to speak English?
It was in Los Angeles.
In LA?
Yeah. I went to high school and college.
So you lived in the United States?
For 30 years.
30 years?
30 years.
And what happened?
I got caught with drugs. They deported me.
Drugs? You were bringing drugs in from Mexico?
Nah. I just dealt there. I never crossed over them. No. Someone would deliver and I'd get it. And that was it. And one time I got caught.
So you had your car full of drugs?
No, not my car. Someone else's car.
Someone's car was full of drugs, and you were delivering them somewhere?
Yeah, that's right. And one time I delivered to a DEA agent. Yeah.
Undercover. For delivery of one carload, how much did they pay?
It was $2,000. Yeah.
$2,000? They call these guys like you, I mean guys who deliver, are called burritos.
Oh, yeah.
Burritos are people Mexicans who deliver drugs to the United States, right?
Yeah, that's right. Coyotes are gonna start working right now.
Coyotes?
Yeah. Coyotes are the ones who smuggle the illegals across the border. No, not those illegals. The ones who paid $2,000. They cross over there. Do you see the bridge? Over there.
Yes. How can they? The bridge is there. The border is closed there.
Listen. Immigration? No, but they have tunnels.
Ah, they have tunnels there. Do you know that for sure?
Yeah,
everybody knows about them.
I think everybody knows. Yes, you gotta have a special device to open it. There's a route through the sewers.
Ah, to the store, yeah?
Yeah, to the store.
And then inside the store there, they have a tunnel?
Yeah, there are a lot of tunnels.
Lots of tunnels.
For when they don't want you to loiter. You won't believe it, but they're looking out. They're looking, yeah. We're being watched.
Coyotes do not only use tunnels, they also make holes in the border wall by using their axes. They get drugs over the border using catapults, and they also make special ramps to get vehicles over, although sometimes they can get stuck. Here, the Coast Guard intercepts a special submarine that was built for trafficking drugs. It tries to speed away, but then a special forces agent jumps on the top and starts pounding on the hatch. When they get into the submarine, it was filled with drugs. However, the cheapest way of transporting drugs is still mules with huge backpacks on their backs, and not even a wall is an obstacle to them. Here we can see one climbing over the border wall, and look how big his backpack is. And another one. Once they're in American territory, the guys call someone, apparently a burrito who's supposed to take the goods from them, but then they notice that they're being filmed.
No.
After realizing that they might get caught, the mules flee back into the safety of Mexican territory. Just watch, it takes them less than 15 seconds to climb up and over a wall that cost billions of dollars, and they make it look as easy as climbing a tree. When Jose and I get back to the car, the guys who are watching us decided to approach, and I pretended I did not understand anything.
Do you know what's going on?
No, I have no idea. Who are you? I couldn't raise my camera, but the guys believed Jose and let us go. Alright guys, basically we were caught by the cartels again, and we don't want trouble, so we need to get out of here. Yeah.
Damn cartels, am I right?
Yeah, fucking cartels here.
What? Let's just go.
Which cartel is here, on this part of the border?
That is La Linea, a cartel that's called La Linea.
Uh-huh.
La Linea. And this means the line.
Yeah.
The line.
And they control this part of the border.
They control Juarez. They don't let anyone here.
But how can you work on this border, with these cartels?
You won't be able to.
Yes, but how do you?
No, you can't do it. You can't.
But you do.
Listen, they'll tell you can't work here. And they'll tell you just to go away. And if you don't listen, then they'll kidnap you. They're teenagers. Young boys. Young boys.
At that time, the kidnappers were demanding a lot of money to give Masha back, and none of us had access to that kind of money. Seriously, there was no way. So we, and these are very different people, including Ilya Bondarev, put our heads together and try to come up with different ways of getting Masha back.
In the room where the woman lived, the room where I was sleeping, there were two huge windows, and there were two layers of curtains on these windows, and these curtains were dirty. And we had to make sure that these curtains were all drawn tightly so that the whole window could be covered and not even one ray of sun could get in. They didn't want the possibility of anyone being able to see in, and whenever the curtain was even just a bit open, then someone would say in a panicked voice, "It's open, fix the curtain, fix the curtain." It seemed like everyone was scared of that.
Those were Venezuelans, Colombians, people from those countries, right?
Yes, there was a woman from Venezuela, and the light in her eyes had faded a long time ago. I can only imagine what horrors she had seen and survived in her life. And obviously she was very worried about her daughter, but looking into her dull eyes was a totally terrifying experience. But she was still looking after her grown-up daughter, and there was this Colombian family who I really want to tell you about. This Colombian family, the mom was 31 years old, and she had two daughters. The one was 12 and the other one was 9, and they were incredibly clever girls, and they were both very interesting to talk to, and I still really wish my Spanish was better. And then the girl's dad, their father, the whole family didn't have enough money to pay. The mom told me she'd been raped when they'd been kidnapped because obviously she told them they don't have any money. So the mom had been raped, and the dad was basically forced to work for the cartel. He would work as a guard in the corridor between the two rooms. He was always between the men and the women's rooms. So basically he was always walking up and down, or he would sit like this, he would sit on his chair, and he also had this very glum, very gloomy looking face. And he would keep an eye on everyone going past. He was a very thin looking man. Although everybody was very thin, his father from Colombia, whenever he sat down on the chair, they gave him, whenever the guys from the cartel would go past him to the bathroom, they would give him a whack on the knee, a truly brutal one. And then as for the poor mother, she was always looking for ways so that she could be useful to the cartel. So she helped with making the food, and apparently, as I understand it, she would also help with giving the food out. And while she was giving out some of the food in the room where the men were sleeping, she passed her husband, and there was this special moment where she and this was obviously very important to her because they weren't allowed to have any contact, but when she went past him, she stopped and gave him a kiss on the forehead, and this moment made my heart absolutely explode.
I can't give you all the details, but the main thing is that they saved Masha.
The Russian citizen was finally freed from cartel captivity on Saturday night at 2300 hours.
Mexican authorities stated that they had confirmed that this person was indeed Masha. But in reality, it was nothing like that.
Alright, it's fine. I'll go. Just get going. Don't show anything. Let's go. They took me into the car, and then they told me to put my head down, and I'm not sure where, but we went somewhere. We drove for a while, and then we were on gravel, and we kept on driving and driving and driving for ages. And then at a certain point, I started to get quite worried because I had my head down, and I thought if the driver suddenly braked, then I was going to break my neck. And I started wondering if that was their plan. I was also worrying about where we were going, and also what would be waiting there. Did they only take me out because they wanted to rape me on the road? Or maybe they wanted to murder me? We got somewhere, and the last bits were on gravel again, and the car stopped, and the door opened, and they told me to get out. No, you can lift your head, it's all okay. You need to walk. They took me to some kind of house. It was a new building. It was a new building with white walls, and the lights weren't on. There were a few rooms. They took me to the very last room, and then they took some pictures of me. One guy told me to sit, not to leave the room, and not to leave the spot I was sitting in. And then he said he'd come back with my things. He said he'd bring me my documents, and then they would take me to the central bus station, and I could go anywhere. And then he locked my door, and he left. Maybe half an hour passed by, around that. Then there was a knock. I jumped up and then answered. The door opened. There was a man and a woman, and they came in. I was trying to see if they were wearing police uniforms or not, and they had guns, and at first I thought that they were from the cartel. I didn't know if they were members of the cartel or if they were police. They asked if I was Masha, and I said yes. And they said, okay, we were at the police. You're safe now. And they got a statement from me and helped me get out of there.
Basically, members of the cartel gave Masha over to the police. Police were able to close the case, even though no arrests were made. But the most important thing is that Masha's free. And once again, I can't give you every detail about this case. But everyone who was involved in freeing Masha, even those in the Russian embassy, know that they helped save a human life. Maybe that's not much, considering the hundreds,
or maybe even thousands of people kidnapped from the American-Mexican border.
But it's not nothing. What are the cartels that control Juarez? Can you talk about that?
Yeah, it's mainly the Juarez cartel. The local one.
Yeah?
And also part of the Sinaloas who are trying to get control. They're at war right now over who controls the border. They're also fighting because of fentanyl, cocaine, and those kinds of heavy drugs.
These chemical drugs are made in the maquiladoras, right?
Well, they're produced in the maquiladoras.
Maquiladoras are small factories in Mexico that can and do produce anything and everything. In the last few years, more and more have been opening up, and because of them, Mexico overtook China in terms of exports to the USA in 2023.
You can see people using drugs in the maquiladoras because people use like blow or meth to keep them active, so they spend long hours on their feet. They're always working, so there are a lot of drug addicts working in the factories.
Wow, so they increase their productivity with drugs?
Yeah, I think they might do something like that. Even though there's always a chance that they can be tested for drugs at work. And we know that inside of the social structures of our city, in some circles, they like to use certain kinds of drugs. The workers in maquiladoras, they use mostly chemical ones, and on the other hand, college and university students, they do mostly weed. But in the factory, they're trying to be productive for their salaries and the people who depend on them.
Drugs for productivity. What a thing to think,
yeah.
Huh?
I heard like in the United States, they used to give amphetamines to their pilots. So I mean...
Which is absolutely true. In 2003, 2 American pilots even stated under oath that they'd opened fire on their own men because they'd been given amphetamines to stay awake. These pills are known in the US Army as Go pills. There's little information on if they're still being used. If you think that the only immigrants going to the USA are coming from Latin America, you'd be sorely mistaken. In the last few years, there have been more immigrants from Asia, most of them from China.
Hello, where are you from? What country? China?
Yeah.
China? China?
Ecuador.
Ecuador? Where are you from?
China.
China? Where are you from?
India.
India. Where are you from?
China.
China?
Georgia.
This is a group that was arrested at the border, and most of them are from Asia.
China?
China.
Since 2022, there has been a steadier stream of immigrants from Russia. That's why getting a plane to Mexico from many parts of the world is not that easy. They will check everything from the return ticket to the hotel bookings, and even then, they still might not let you board the plane. I'm checking on to a flight to Mexico. They don't want to register me, because a lot of people go through the country to get to America. And it's because of that reason that Mexican authorities have decided to make it a lot harder to get into their country. Right at registration, they're checking our return tickets, our hotel bookings. They're asking us for the reason for our visit, to make sure we're really going to Mexico for business or leisure, and not that we're trying to get into the country so we can cross the American border.
Think we'll get in?
I don't know. Rada really had no plans to cross the border, and she and I filmed a really cool episode all about Mexico, without any immigrants or cartels. Go check it out on our new channel, Wonderful Far Away, if you haven't already. I'm filming. The man who was at this desk took my passport and just left. He's gone to check something. My documents were checked for 20 minutes.
They say no in Mexico. Too many problems with Mexico. Emirates, they said Emirates, you'll be sent away.
And these tickets are ours?
Because too many tourists go to America, go over the border. They want to let there be any chance of that happening. Lots of people like you, maybe 800 in the airport right now.
There are tons of stories online about how tourists weren't allowed to board their planes, or were turned away on arrival. The most famous case was with the head of Canada's Amnesty International branch, Keri Nivyabandi, who wasn't allowed onto a flight because she is a citizen of Burundi. In the airport, one of the airline staff members recommended flying to Turkey, and then from there, making our way to Mexico.
Turkish Airlines is okay. Emirates, no. There are problems with immigration. See, they have a system. Your name goes from them to us. They can see it on the system. So even if you buy a ticket, the border police will see it. And they can say on the system to block you.
And now, what are we supposed to do? Tell me.
You can use a different airline.
My passport is scanned again and taken somewhere else again, and after some waiting, they give me a ticket. I got a ticket, with a few adventures on the way. In the end, the man at the registration counter said that filming is completely prohibited, and I can understand why he would want it that way. But especially when it comes to Mexico. They often check passengers out before the flight. And during that process, a lot of passengers are filtered out. Those travelers aren't allowed to fly to Mexico if they cannot prove that they're planning on coming back from Mexico, but that's not the end. After a long flight, there's a chance that they still might not let you into the country. I'm in Mexico, and it's a bit cold here. That's a surprise. It's chilly in Mexico. Now it is time to get to the border. On forums and chat sites, they often say that it's actually harder to get across the border in Cancun than it is in the country's capital, but I haven't come across any accurate statistics. Citizens of Mexico are let through first, and the rest of us are being held in this narrow corridor. It really feels like we're in a cellar. We've been standing for 20 minutes, maybe even more than that, and we're barely moving.
I think we're taking one step every 5 to 6 minutes.
The line is moving so slowly right now because the officials are not only looking at people's passports, but their return tickets and hotel bookings, and finding out what their plans are for their stay. And only when that's been cleared, do they let people through. It's an insanely long queue. The biggest issue is we're all inside the narrow passage, and we're stuck. We're not moving. That's not all that happens at the border. If you're going to the north of Mexico, then you can also be detained if you take a domestic flight. For example, I was flying to Tijuana. The Tijuana airport is even more
hectic than the one in Mexico City.
And that is because a lot of immigrants who are planning on seeking political asylum in the States come here. They wait here for months to see
if America would let them in or not.
Behind the tape are the detainees. Judging by their stories, they are forced to hand over money and then allowed to go. Difficulties for immigrants already start here in the airport. The things that taking a normal taxi is not really recommended. All of the forums say that the driver can take you anywhere he wants. He might turn out to be from a cartel, or you might be a robber. Might be if you get nervous and start asking about your fare. There's a chance that anything could happen. You could even go missing. One of the options that's safer is to take a taxi from a special taxi stand that they have here at the airport. I'm going to show you one now. As you can see, it's very official, and these kinds of stands are actually common across the whole of Mexico. So first you pay for your taxi, and only then does the driver take off. Until then, he doesn't go anywhere. You need to keep in mind. If you are gonna use a service like that one, or if you're taking a taxi that you called through an app, then the driver will at least know that people know what his destination is meant to be, and the app's recording every moment of your trip, so they won't try anything. Those who know about the situation go and get a taxi on the other side of the airport. Just look at how many people leave the airport and come here to the other side so they can wait for a taxi, because they know the airport taxis can be dangerous. There are so many people here that they even put up a sign saying not to come and wait for cars here because you might get hit. But people still come here because they would prefer to be run over by a car than to be taken by a bad taxi out into the desert and robbed of all they have or even killed. Look at that, even the pilot, he's even waiting for a ride here. And that fence over there, my friends, is Trump's wall. Behind it is America.
Uber?
Yes.
Is everything okay?
Yeah, everything's okay.
Is there anyone else?
No, we're not going that far.
Have a safe trip.
Okay, thank you.
So that is how the police check that things are okay. Why do they ask those questions?
Because sometimes people who come here disappear.
Uh-huh.
So that's the reason they check taxis leaving the airport. They check everything, you see.
They also check so that if a driver picks up someone who looks like a potential immigrant, it gives them a chance to make some money.
Because this is Mexico, different things can happen and you hear different stories from people, different situations. Someone was taken, somebody was caught, and there's someone who has to pay your ransom. And that's just with the police. Any tourist who is traveling to Mexico is automatically suspected of having intentions of immigration, with the goal of getting into America. When we first flew out, it was back in September, and we were leaving from Russia, and we were close to Omsk. We were in Turkey when they turned us around the first time. It was a flight through Frankfurt over to Cancun, and they turned us around and wouldn't let us on board, and we lost money. The second time was Istanbul to Mexico, a direct flight. We arrived with no problems. When we got to Mexico, we were held in something that people told us was called the glass box.
The glass box is basically a holding area for detainees in the capital's airport, where people spend a few hours now and then.
They held us there for about 15 minutes, and naturally, we were all pretty scared for those 15 minutes. We imagined all sorts of things going wrong, all sorts of problems that would get in the way. But as you can see, we're here.
Arthur and his family came to Mexico with the aim of moving to America.
There was a situation where people were stopped in a taxi. They were in a taxi and they got stopped by a cop. And in the end, they had to pay almost $4,000 just to be set free.
Wow.
Yeah, that was just the money they had on them somewhere. So basically, these people gave away... I can't bring myself to say it, I don't know.
But why did the cops get involved? Didn't they have stamps in their passports?
They did. They had expired stamps. But I think that the taxi drivers and the police worked together. Let's say some Russians get in a taxi. The driver talks to a cop and says, Russians, Russians, Russians. He sends it as a message, then drives past the officers. The officers pull him over and everything goes as usual. There was another situation that involved a raid in a hotel. Immigration services came right into the hotel. They started going through the hotel room by room, checking people's passports. They'd find an expired visa and charge $500. Those who had $500 were free. Those who didn't were taken to Tabasco. And Tabasco is, I think, on the border with Guatemala. It's all the way there.
It's in the south.
Yeah. So then they're taken away, put on an airplane and flown somewhere, given documents about being deported, and then let go. That's it. And that's the story.
All that means is that it is going to cost them a lot of money to get from Tabasco back here. They're going to have to fork out a lot.
They had already crossed. They had a small child with them. I think it was about 3 or 4.
Yeah.
They were just sitting and waiting, and then they decided to cross with the coyotes. And if the coyotes are involved, you know it's illegal.
There are good cops and there are bad cops. And the cops here, they're bad. I think most of them are gangsters. They sold themselves out for money. They don't touch us here. We did what we wanted. And if they cause problems, I just call my boss, Ernesto. And he would shout down the phone. He'd say, I promised you cash, woman, so don't bother my guys. And they left us alone. This one time they tried to arrest me. They wanted to take me down to the station and lock me up. Then my boss came through and told them to let me go. And they said, go, go, go. We don't want to see you here. And I left. It was like nothing happened. The police don't really play much of a role around here. Like we say in Mexico, they suck.
Unlike with immigrants, when they're dealing with cartel members, the police are very polite and respectful, like during the arrest of Al Chapo's son, the head of the Sinaloa cartel. The special forces guys were scared to even touch the people who were in the same circle as Al Chapo Jr. The leader of the Mexicales cartel, Ernesto Alneto, eventually ended up in prison too, where according to official information, he got a cell with a jacuzzi, a plasma TV, and a safe that was full of money and drugs.
If I'm being honest, prison life is pretty shitty. Everything's how it is here, but 30 times more expensive. How much do you think it costs? 60 pesos? 60 pesos for this. A pack of cigarettes costs 120, and a bottle of beer costs 1,000 pesos. Prison's expensive if you don't have money. I've seen poor guys shooting up in the prison hallways. They didn't have a corner or a bed. They would just pass out on the concrete. They had absolutely nothing, but I had my own room. Basically my own house in prison. And Ernesto, my boss, he had a full estate inside. It was a place. He could call his own. He had his own house, there was a tiled floor and jacuzzis and TVs. They really gave him everything he wanted. But even that wasn't enough to keep him there. He escaped but eventually got shot.
How about give me that? Give me them good vibes, yeah, and you might get it back. Manifest anything, oh look at that, no cut, no step back. It's a new era.
When we landed, both my hands were shaking like this, and I was worried that they'd ask me something and I'd make a mistake. Everything could go wrong. But no, I didn't get caught and I didn't get asked anything. They let us off the plane and said go. So,
In that sense, I guess we were very lucky. In fact, when it came to getting here, we were generally lucky.
Lyra and Sasha also came to Mexico to cross the border to America, which is something you can do legally. You need to register on a special US government app and wait until they give you a date for your authorized border crossing. But this will take at least a few months to get.
I think 150 days? You know, I think that's a realistic amount. This is how it works. Every day you go onto the app and request an appointment, and then you'll close the app again. And the next morning, if you haven't got a date between 9 and 10, then you go and request a new one again. And then,
every morning you start your day with breakfast and you open the app and push a button that says, request date.
Yeah.
In this case, you must wait for the date of the transition at the border. Accordingly, from some point on, those who want to do everything according to the law become illegal immigrants on Mexican territory because they exceed the period of stay within the country.
It was right here in this spot that tourists recently knocked down the fence and escaped to American territory, and we saw that moment. They've put up a new fence now, and as it turns out, they knocked it down here on Mexican territory and ran over to the other side.
The plan was to run with them.
Immigrants regularly force the fence down. For example, back in 2022, when there was a mass invasion.
It was quite the situation. I can't remember which city it happened in, and I can't remember when it was, but a little boy was walking near the fence. He was a Mexican citizen, and he lived about a meter from the fence. He was walking near the fence, and the border guy yelled at him to get away from the fence. Get away from the fence! But then, at the end of that all, he simply opened fire and killed the little boy.
Maybe Sasha is telling us about the case of Sergio Hernandez, which happened all the way back in 2010. The American border guard who shot him claimed that the 14-year-old boy had been busy throwing rocks. But then, the video came out. You can see 3 teens running away from the American border, which they obviously have been trying to cross, when the guard catches one, and then forces him to get onto his knees. Do you see that dark strip on the land there? Well, that is the Rio Grande River bed, the border between the countries. 2 of the teens were already in Mexico, and the border guard couldn't catch them, so what did he do? He just shot the one that he did catch. I showed you the place where that murder took place in my last video about Mexico.
His son was killed by Border Patrol. He got shot in the head. His name was Sergio. He died here, and that's why the cross is over there.
And this story has even more serious consequences than that. The parents of the boy tried to sue the border guard who shot him, whose name was Jesus Mesa, because of what he had done. But in 2020, the US Supreme Court ruled that the relatives of a child who was killed in Mexico are not authorized to seek justice in an American court, unless they get special permission from Congress. The precedent that this sets essentially gives American border guards absolute carte blanche to kill whoever they feel like killing, as long as it is not on American land, only Mexican. Some people look at these immigrants and wonder where they are going and what they're looking for, but there's something that you need to understand. All these people paid a lot of money, which means they had it in the first place. They worked hard and saved it up. All of it. They just saved it all for this trip. These people are brave. They're entrepreneurial. They all went through the kind of horrible things that we would never wish on our worst enemies. The bravery of these people can only be envied. Some will say that it is stupid and desperate, and that's partly true. But no matter how desperate their situation is, no matter where they come from, for them to make this decision, knowing that the majority will die, they will literally die. These are people who have never actually done anything wrong in their lives. They've never killed anybody. They're the ones who get killed. They've never hurt anybody, but they have been hurt badly. And all these people want to do is go live a normal life. They just want to live without being in danger anymore. They just want their children to have normal lives, and that's all. Normalcy. And that is all. These are people who have been let down by the countries that they came from and give themselves a chance at a normal life. They put themselves through all this danger so that these people just want a normal life for themselves, and that they come and come again and again.
I have already told you about how the Mexican cartels rob immigrants, but there is another side to that story. Thousands of normal Mexicans help the illegals where they can. Along the route of the Beast, the train of death, the villagers who don't have that much money themselves toss food and water and clothes to the immigrants to help them, and some, who put their own lives on the line, take them in. Mexicans are uncommonly kind people who are always willing to lend a helping hand to those in need. During my travels around the country, there were plenty of strangers who helped me and offered me food and a place to stay, even though they had no idea who I was. Here, this one guy really surprised me. He invited me in. That's for elotes, right? He told me that he had something for me. I had no idea what it is. I see he's making me pies. Lovely. Just eat it like this?
Yeah.
A stranger, guys, a stranger. I was walking down the street and he called me. He said, come in, I'm making food, and look around. He's cooking with his whole family. Hello. He just said, come on in and have a taste of our pies. I am in a village near Guadalajara, and today, Armando, the head of his family, saw me on the street and invited me in. His wife is frying elotes, which are basically slightly sweet cornbreads, and the whole family sells them. So they fed me elotes, gave me a drink, and sat me at the table. And by the way, I'm going to do a whole episode on Mexican food. And so, guys, I'm trying real homemade gorditas. The host said I can come and stay with them anytime that I feel like it. This was unbelievable. None of you know me. You don't, right?
No.
No. I was just walking by and you just said, come into our home, and you fed me. And you fed me. You fed me. You let me have everything that you have. I think that Mexican people are just the friendliest people in the whole world. Yeah.
When you come back, come straight back to us.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Guys, this was truly unbelievable. They even gave me food to take away. They fed me and gave me drinks. Then they said, go, but always be careful. Someone here might take your camera from you, so keep an eye on it. This country is unbelievable. It is a country of contrasts. On the one hand, you can be invited in. You can be fed and entertained and treated like a guest. I can guarantee that I'd asked to spend the night. They'd have said yes and even given me clothes. They'd have opened their home up. They would have given me clothes and shoes. I could have asked them for a lift to the next town and they would have said yes, of course. I promise you, when you're in Mexico, it's absolutely possible to ask for and receive. That's just the reality here. On the other hand, right here nearby, another person might do something bad. I don't know. They might try to steal a cheap watch off someone's wrist, just like that, just because he liked it. How can they coexist? How can they coexist? Alright guys, we're in a city whose name I'm sure everybody knows, but almost nobody knows that it is a city. This is Chihuahua. Most people know it as Chihuahua. A city in North Mexico, the capital of the state of the same name. This state is the biggest in the country, and it is on the border, which also makes it very dangerous. My guides through the city are American rapper Slowpoke and his girlfriend, who's a rapper from Chihuahua, Hypek.
I welcome you to Mexico.
Slowpoke was born in Texas and has performed all over the world, but recently moved to Mexico.
My granny and grandpa were Mexican.
Why did you decide to come back to Mexico?
I mean, honestly, I, began my relationship with Hypek and, we decided to live together, be together. We love each other. We are here.
Oh, I was in Korea recently, and they were asking me how I survived Mexico for so long, how I handled it, and I said, look guys, no, it isn't as bad as you think it is. Narco boom boom, no. This is a normal country, just like everywhere else. There are so many beautiful places around the country to see. The culture of Chicano and Cholo, and then there's the amazing food. And there are beautiful places everywhere, and the land is very rich, you know? And there's so many beautiful buildings everywhere, yeah.
All of that is 100% true, and I ask everybody I meet this question. So, the question is, how can it be possible that the people of Mexico can be some of the friendliest people in the world, and yet there are so many gangs and so much violence all over the place, though?
I think, well, honestly, I don't know. I don't actually know the answer. I do think that you're right, though, of course, but also, the guys in the cartels are very friendly, actually. I mean, when you already know each other, they're friendly. Do you need anything? Is everything okay? I don't know. I think we all came from somewhere similar, you know? We all grew up in conditions that we can all understand. Things won't always be okay, you know? But that makes all of us brothers and sisters. We have love for each other, for those that are closest to us and that we've grown up together, like a family.
When it gets dark, we go into one of the most dangerous parts of Chihuahua. These slums are known as Barrios Bajos. Hypek grew up on these streets.
Bienvenidos.
This area is problematic. There are a lot of factors that come together to make it bad. We're in the southeast of Chihuahua.
Well, just yesterday, a guy was killed right here. He was just shot to death in cold blood.
Do you know where he lived?
I think he was just on the next block over there. He was taken out of his home. They dragged him out and they just shot him on the street. 1 bullet, 2 bullets. After the third, he was dead. And that was all it took, and they drove away.
But why?
Why? The thing about places like this is that you don't really need a reason. You don't need a motive for anything. It's the kind of place where all kinds of shit happens.
A guy was shot on this intersection because of a dispute over drug territories. And after that, 3 new kids now stand there and sell stuff.
I'm gonna tell you something, and it's something everyone here knows. How much is your life worth? Because we all have someone who was killed for 500 pesos. Places like this don't really have any rules. There are lots of drug dealers around. I'm pretty sure that every family has someone who's been killed before. I think that here in Chihuahua, we haven't had 2 days in a row where someone hasn't been killed on the street. And it's very normal because for us and our children, this is normal. My daughter is 12 years old and she gives me a call and she says, Mommy, they've just killed a loan shark outside our window. And it makes me sad that she already knows what a loan shark is and what death is. That's just not right.
We often hear about the smuggling of drugs through Mexico to the USA, and we forget that Mexico is the final destination for a lot of those drugs. The trading of drugs, well, although prohibited, happens in many cities, almost in broad daylight.
Just 5 streets from where we are now is by far the most dangerous part of the city. I know that because my brother is in there right now and he can't get off the needle. And every time I pass by here, it tears my heart in two.
This is something that Hypek went through herself.
Well, I used heroin for 15 years, and now I have left all of that, the drugs and the gangs, behind me. It's in the past, and, but in the past, I would simply have been passed out on the pavement. When I was, I think, 14 years old, these guys came, they were selling drugs, and they put a gun to my head, and it...
What for?
Well, because I was doing heroin, and back in those days, that was something that you could be made to pay for. Now, I'm not gonna name any names. I'm sure you can understand those guys are still around. But at that time, what they were saying was that they were gonna end my life. You know, I was really scared then, and They said that they knew where my mom lived. And then I just thought, what will happen if they shoot me in the head right now? Really, I was wondering if that would hurt. Will it hurt? Will it hurt a lot? But I'm alive. That moment changed me, and I need everyone to know that it's possible for you. It's possible. It's possible for everyone. You can always make change for the better. You can make money without crime. You can.
How did you do it? What gave you the strength?
The music.
Stories like this are very common in Barrios Baya and Chihuahua. Someone was on the needle, someone was dealing, someone was in a gang. But they made the decision to stop, and they decided to help others stop. And now, there are sports clubs and music studios and the reformed children of the streets. They try to help the next generation to be like them.
For the last 3 or 4 years, this was the most dangerous part of the city, and now there are more and more people who are trying to change that. And it's really making a real difference. Violence has dropped, and I think that with the work of the brothers of the family, and sisters of course, we are responsible for this area, each one of us. We all do something to improve things around here, so we can change our suburbs, so that we can help it become better. And when that starts to happen, it leads to guys from other areas getting involved in our programs and then improving things in their areas.
When no one could cope with the situation on the street, it seemed that the street itself began to cleanse itself. This is not a non-profit organization, and this is no tangible structure to this movement. Everyone helps as much as they can. Some teach children music, some teach sports, and some just look after them while their parents are at work. All this is either free or for a symbolic fee. The guys call themselves familia, which means family. It is interesting to note that many cartels in Mexico started in the exact same way, with mutual aid groups.
There are cartels and gangsters and criminals, but what we have more than that is respect. It's the way that we treat people, because here in Mexico, yeah, we have lots of cartels, but more importantly, we have respect. For example, if a tourist comes to Mexico, nothing will happen to that person because respect here is a fundamental. You won't be hurt for no reason at all. You'll come to Mexico and you'll be respected. Yes, there are cartels, they exist. I have known about them since I was a child. They're a big part of this country. But I also see a lot of respect in this country. It's always there. And I know that bad things happen here all the time. But if you visit, everyone will be warm and nothing will happen to you. Respect is very important here.
Do you feel that it's more dangerous to live here?
I mean, I can see that, but I haven't experienced any danger, or I don't feel uncomfortable. I mean, I've been all over the world. I mean, I've seen like every place, every city, every state, every country has bad parts. I think, honestly, wherever you go, I mean, as long as you're respectful, you'll receive it back. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Just run them.
Look, the way that I ball, I should have played for the Big Ten when I touched stage, but they packed in, got a pretty thing to make a...
What do you think about the Mexican cartels? Can they be defeated? And why do these cartels, when they're in American territory, behave so much better than at home? Without any criminals, Mexico would be the greatest tourist destination in the world. Mexico is an unbelievably beautiful and spectacular country, with canyons like this one right behind me. Woohoo! With loads of caves, deserts, and eye-watering beaches, I guarantee that you will never want to leave. But if you don't pay attention to all of that, it could be incredibly dangerous. My friends, go and check out The Wonders of Mexico on our channel Wonderful Far Away. Like and subscribe. You'll see a world without gangs and violence and no unpleasantness. Do not forget sights that you could not imagine. But until then,
we're off again.